I am swinging from a 7-story window, throwing parties in a 10-by-7 cell. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help. Yeah, I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'll try to use your body as a life raft, 'cause if there's room enough for one, there must be room enough for two. I'll sail the good ship you into the sunset, sipping on savory water till my liver turns blue. Sha-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Is broadcast in the evening news. I will be relieved. La, 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 I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'm waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. Singing, hey, hey, alright, yeah, I wrote that one myself. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help. Fuck.
Yes, everybody, it is me, Matt Wright. I am back with a brand new episode of The Writer's Block, a Muddied Waters Media production. I am wearing my brand new shirt that I made specifically for superfan Sarah Anderegg that I will wear now everywhere because it is my favorite shirt in the entire world. This is not actually available in the store yet, so you get to take a look at it, decide if you like it beforehand. So I hope everybody enjoys it. First and foremost, allow me to thank the wonderful and fine people at Siesta Cava. I should probably put up their overlay because, you know, they're paying for that. For siestacava.com. If you want to try the Libertarian Kool-Aid, the fun, gritty, muddy Libertarian Kool-Aid known as Kava, visit siestacava.com. To all of you wonderful people for showing up and watching me week after week after week, and to Siesta Cava, I say, Bula Vinaka. This episode is brought to you by the wonderful people, well, by the wonderful man. The wonderful man known as Chris Reynolds, personal injury attorney. Chris Reynolds, attorney at law. And while we do not have the anchor call-in moment on this episode, we do have it on Tuesdays, but this man deserves all of the credit because he is one of the major reasons this show is still on the air. This episode is also brought to you by the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the fastest growing waffle-related caucus in the known multiverse. If you want to become a member of the Waffle House Caucus, all you have to do is visit muddiedwatersmedia.com/store and buy yourself a Waffle House button. If you want to become a voting member, pick up a t-shirt. This episode is also brought to you by the most aptly named company to ever exist for this show, Mudwater. If you are tired of the coffee jitters, switch over to Mudwater. It is a coffee alternative that contains masala chai, cacao, mushrooms, turmeric, sea salt, cinnamon, and that is it. If you are ready to make the switch today, visit muddiedwatersmedia.com/mud. This episode is also brought to you by the Gravy King. This episode is brought to you by a brand new sponsor, Jonathan Reels, and it looks like Matt Hicks could have drawn this. Back in the 1996 presidential election, Jonathan asked his granny who she was going to vote for, the Republican or the Democrat. She looked him dead in the face and said, "You won't catch me voting for either of those shit asses." And that was very confusing for an 8-year-old named Jonathan Reels. And Jonathan Reels has to say to you, be like his granny, vote for Jonathan Reels for U.S. Congress. This episode is also brought to you by The Royal Green. It is a book. It's written by a libertarian. His name's Jack Casey. He's got a great head of hair. I mean, at least in his pictures. It could be photoshopped. I don't know. But he wrote some books, and they're about things. I don't know. I haven't read them. People tell me they're good. I don't know. It's not like just looking at the covers. I'm like, okay, yeah. Like I bet I have some friends that would like that. But if you want to support a libertarian and you're into fantasy and butterflies and knives and rings that do things, and you're into descriptions like it's like Game of Thrones, Dune, Ender's Game, Final Fantasy, Hamlet, V for Vendetta, Phantom of the Opera, and a bunch of other stories came together and had a few strange but beautiful rectangular shaped babies, visit theroyalgreen.com today. This episode is also brought to you by Cumberland Cannabis Co., a brand new cannabis co. for you from us. Visit cumberlandcannabisco.com to try out the blue raspberry gummies, because I just was looking at those and those sound delicious, and that's also the flavor vape that I have right now. And finally, this episode is brought to you by Joe Solosky. He is the key to Pennsylvania's success. If you are in the Pennsylvania region of these United States, you should vote for Joe Solosky for governor in next year. Speaking of Pennsylvania, on my show today, I have a very wonderful guest. She is the newly elected chair of the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania. Please welcome with me, everybody, the fantastic, the wonderful Ms. Jennifer Moore.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Hey, I am so glad that you had the time to take today to talk to me. I'm very excited to have you on.
You know, I keep seeing all the Waffle House stuff. You know, I've never eaten at a Waffle House. I feel so left out.
Well, so before the show started, we talked a little bit, and you said that you were in Michigan and Pennsylvania. So you never having experienced Waffle House makes a lot of sense.
We have them in Pennsylvania.
Do you?
Not near me. I think there's one about 45 minutes away. I'm just going to have to find some Waffle House libertarians to go with.
Yeah, because I grew up in Northern Virginia, and where I was, the closest one was like 40 minutes away. So I wasn't like a Waffle House kid. It wasn't until I moved to Tennessee, where they're everywhere, that I started going to Waffle House a lot more regularly. And then I came down to Florida, and like you can find one every other block. It's like the Spike Cohen dream, where he's just like, yes, a Waffle House on every corner. So it's a fantastic cheap breakfast that is, or lunch or dinner. It doesn't matter whenever you want to eat eggs. It's great. But so congratulations, by the way. You just recently, when was that, last weekend or the weekend before?
It was last weekend.
Last weekend, you won the chair of the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania. That is amazing news. That is great, great news, actually. Do you want to talk about what the process was like getting elected as the chair, or do you just want to bask in the wind for a while?
Well, it was probably the most difficult day I've ever had as an activist. We have a 180-day rule for voting members, which is usually waived, and the delegation chose not to waive it this time. So we spent most of the day arguing about that. We did get to officer elections, which seemed like that might not even happen, but we didn't get to bylaws. We didn't get to platform or anything like that. We just had our officer elections. So, you know, I feel we have a really good team. I've done a lot of outreach this past week to, the opponent's side, hoping that we can find projects to work together on. From here, we're heading right into ballot access season.
Right.
So, the main thing is we need to make sure this part is successful.
Right, and ballot access is a big thing for libertarians, especially in today's political climate, no matter which state you're in. And I want to get into that with you, but first, I'd like to find out exactly how my guests that come on the Writer's Block, how it is that they became libertarian in the first place. Did you were you always a libertarian? Did you kind of grow into it? Were you a Democrat or a Republican who was like, one day, like, I don't like the overreach that the state is doing, and then you found the libertarian? Like, how is it that you became a member of this party?
Well, I was a Republican in the mid-aughts, and I kind of walked away from the party because I felt they weren't small government. And I knew at that point that I was a libertarian, but it wasn't until 2014 when I took a break from my career. I had my second child and was just working part-time, and I started spending a lot more time online, and reading up on it and getting involved in libertarian forums. And in 2017, in conjunction with our convention, we had the Mid-Atlantic Liberty Festival, which crashed and burned. It never happened. It was kind of resurrected from the ashes, and they had a very short event, but we went anyway. It was my birthday weekend. My husband said, "You want to go to a political convention for your birthday weekend?" I said, "Yeah, I really do." I went. I had a great time. I swore I would never run for public office. I would never run for leadership in the party. Within a year, I was elected as township auditor. I was the Eastern vice chair of the party. Now I'm the chair of the party. I ran for auditor general last year. It just kind of, sucks you in and steals your soul.
Yeah. When I first moved here, like, I was a libertarian before I moved to Florida, and if anybody is wondering if I am just very nervous talking to Jen Moore, or if my AC is broken, it's the latter. I'm in Florida and my AC is broken. So if I seem shiny, that is why. And I'm also nervous talking to the chair of the Pennsylvania Libertarian Party. But when I moved to Florida, I was a libertarian already, but I wasn't active in the party. I believed I had a strong libertarian beliefs. I just wasn't a party member. And when I moved here, I joined, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're going to immediately start wanting to run for office, and you're going to want to run for positions within the party." And I thought, nah, that's not me. And that was half true. I've never run for office. But I ended up, like, in my first month, I was the secretary of the Libertarian Party of Pinellas County, and then I worked my way up to vice chair, and people asked me to run for chair of the state party, but I was already on my way out at that time. And then I ended up joining again after I liked leadership again. But somebody said Florida was only invented to sell air conditioners. Also, Joel Getz says you owe him money.
Yes, I do owe Joe money for his campaign.
He also said that
he never lets me forget.
Yeah, he also said you could beat Joe Solosky.
Oh, no. No, thank you.
Which is amazing, because
I'm a much better administrator. Governor is not my thing.
I was going to say, that's amazing, because Joe Solosky, from what I can understand, can dribble a bowling ball. And if you can defeat this man, good on you. Like, I support you 100%.
Some of the paid petitioners that I've contracted with have texted me to that effect. "You should run for governor, John." And I'm like, no, I'm never running for governor. That's insanity. But you know what? My niche might be administration. Joe's is candidate. That's
Right.
what he does best. I'm so glad that he's running for that nomination.
No, absolutely. Joe, I love Joe. He came on the Muddy Waters of Freedom a couple of months ago now, and we actually have a new intro video that he introduces us using, like, his Joe Solosky radio voice, and he's like, "And now Matt Wright and Spike Cohen," and yeah, I'm super excited to be able to unveil that one whenever we get a chance to. But from what I understand, you were very instrumental in getting ballot access for the Jorgensen-Cohen campaign in 2020. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and what other states could learn from your process?
Well, the very first thing I want to tell everybody is don't wait till the last minute. We had COVID-19, we had lockdown orders. We went to the state and said, "Are we allowed to approach people with the 6-foot social distancing? Are we allowed to petition?" And they didn't answer us. So we went to federal court and we sued them. And I was one of the key witnesses, because the Democrats intervened and they told us that we should be mailing nomination papers out and having people sign them and send them back, which is funny because I had worked on a similar project before and it ended up costing us about $22 a signature to do it that way. So I was a key witness saying that this method just doesn't work. The most famous part of that trial was when the Democrats' counsel looked at me and told me that COVID-19 is only dangerous in my opinion. And I turned and looked at him and said, yes, in my opinion as a healthcare worker. With all the Democratic narrative. So we actually lost our case. We lost the appeal, and they told us we had to collect 10,000 face-to-face signatures during a pandemic when there's no large gatherings. There's nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to approach you within 6 feet. We needed wet ink face-to-face signatures. So we had 3.5 weeks left. I ran the paid drive. Normally, I would never take more than 2 or 3 paid petitioners. I probably interviewed 50 or 60 people, and I had 12 out in the field. So about a third of the drive was paid petitioners, and then the other 2/3 was all volunteers. I mean, we had like over 200 individual petitioners who got signatures, which is amazing. I mean, most states can't pull that off. Our team just came together, but it was just daily reaching out to everybody. How many signatures do we have? Where's the count at? Do my paid petitioners have the papers they need? Where are they? Can we get down ballot on? It's just a lot of work. It's a heck of a lot of work to get that many signatures in a short time.
So I want to make sure that I got this right. The government that shut down the state, or the Commonwealth, you're a Commonwealth, that shut down the Commonwealth, said that COVID was only dangerous in your opinion?
Right.
Then why did they have the Commonwealth shut down?
It was the Democrats on top of it who said it. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Right.
You really can't make it up.
Like, if I was sitting in a trial in a lawsuit, I don't know the actual word for that, but if I was sitting in court and somebody said that to me, I'd say, then why are we shut down? Then why have you shut down businesses? Why can't we have gatherings where I could do this easier?
So ballot access is like my Blitzkrieg button, right? And
Right.
I'm not a person who gets the flame wars online. I ended up having a top badge for the Democrats because like every time they posted about COVID, the PA Democrats, I went after them. And all of these threads would end up, they never deleted anything. They would end up being like 180 comments long with like people arguing with me that didn't happen.
That is unbelievable that they would have the gall to be that brazen to say, no, this is only dangerous in your mind. You should be able to do this, while at the same time fighting to make sure that you don't have large gatherings, that schools are closed, that you can't go to the DMV, that businesses are shut down unless they're, healthcare or government.
Well, it proves it was politically motivated.
It definitely proves it was politically motivated.
Well, you know what else is interesting is this past election that we just had on Tuesday, our primary, Pennsylvania actually passed 2 constitutional amendments that limits the governor's power. He's only allowed to declare an emergency for 21 days, and then it has to be renewed by the legislator, and he can't veto it. So this kind of restores that balance of power so we can't shut businesses down for a year at a time again.
Well, I mean, that he shouldn't be allowed to shut them down for 21 days personally, but I mean, right. It's a step in the right direction. But yeah, like I go to Pennsylvania often, not as often as I used to when I lived in Virginia, but my sister lives in Philadelphia, and one of my sisters lives in Philadelphia, and a lot of the things that she was talking about that was going on in Philadelphia while COVID was at the peak last summer, I could not believe that people were just accepting of it. In being here in Florida, we did not really have the lockdown. I think ours was like 3 weeks or something. I don't know. And like my life literally didn't change. I still did everything I normally would do. I just wasn't allowed in places. But I didn't really go in places then because it's Florida. You just hang out outside.
Right.
But the amount of overreach that the government in Pennsylvania took was absolutely outstanding to me. And then for them to, like we said, have the gall to say, no, it's only dangerous in your mind just to keep you off the ballot. So massive kudos to you for being able to reach the goals that you needed to reach
And not only that, but I was actually on the ballot as Auditor General, and Joe Solaski was our Treasurer candidate. Dan Wassmer was running for Attorney General, and of course we had Joe and Spike. All of us hit the threshold for minor party status, which was the real goal of
Nice.
this campaign. I had the highest vote totals in the state, which was amazing because I didn't run a real campaign, but I got over 200,000 votes. But the thing that I have to say about it is through the Joe and Spike campaign, I organized 11 counties in my region, just excited volunteers who wanted to be a part of this movement, who just really, saw these campaigns and said, okay, now what's next? So, now we have new affiliates all through the Northeast. In fact, of the 22 counties in Eastern Pennsylvania, there's only 3 left that need to be organized, which I'm going to leave to my, successor, Adam Reinhardt, now that I'm chair. But
So, outside of waiting until the last minute, which we're libertarians, like I hate to take the easy punch here, but we're kind of famous for that. Outside of waiting till the last minute and like prepping your ballot access way in advance, what other ways can you advise for people to get it to reach ballot access?
Well, this year is our municipal election,
Okay.
and I think that Pennsylvania will win 100 to 150 elections. In 2019, me, Wes Benedict, and Dr. Moulton worked on this project where we identified winnable seats. And we got 47 people elected that year. This year, we have so many more volunteers and we have more money to put towards it. We perfected our process. I think that we're going to just elect a heck of a lot of people. But, in answer to your question, that's a training ground for ballot access because most of these positions only need, 10 to 50 signatures on like an even year where we have to have 10,000.
Right.
So, if we can train people to get out there, get good signatures, because, let's face it, they have to be a registered voter in the district. They can't use quotation marks. It has to be legible. I mean, there's just so many little ways to, trip someone up. The papers look simple, but they're really not.
Right.
I mean, I faced a ballot challenge myself and ended up in court when I was elected, just over absolutely silly errors, like the wrong year on a form. So this year will kind of be that proving ground where we can train all these people in these small elections, get a bunch of people elected. So hopefully in 22, and Pennsylvania is unique that we're able to stack positions. So if we can recruit a lot of state reps, if we can recruit state senate, U.S. Congress, all those people will stack towards that gubernatorial and that senate. So, hopefully if we have enough people who are comfortable with the process, who understand what good papers look like, we'll be able to, do it without paid petitioners this time around, which is, always what we hope for. We always talk about it. It never quite works out that way. But, we have great organizers, and if we hit the ground running, there's no reason that we can't.
Right. And I've been both a paid petitioner and a non-paid petitioner. And honestly, when I was a non-paid petitioner, I did a much better job than when I was a paid petitioner, because I was a paid petitioner for a different party. But when I was doing,
That'll do it.
yeah, I was like, you're paying me. I'm out here. I'm just going to get the signatures and go. But when I was doing it for the Libertarian Party, when I first moved here, I was working on a congressional campaign, a federal congressional campaign, and we were doing the door-to-door talking to people and saying, but we need to get ballot access, can you sign this? And then having to make sure that what they were signing was their name and that what they were filling out was what it said on their ID, and like making sure that what they were doing would be acceptable. And they still threw out half of what we got.
Yeah.
Joel Getz says that you are the only real libertarian, and then he immediately followed it up with, just kidding, it's me, but still.
That sounds like Joel.
But,
I know that that's actually coming from Joel because I can hear him saying, when the convention ended and I was done being Eastern Vice Chair, I handed him that pin and he has it somewhere.
Oh, really?
So I guess even though Adam was elected, Joel is Jen Moore Eastern Vice Chair now. He's got my name tag.
So he took on the moniker of Jen Moore, Eastern Vice Chair. He's not Eastern Vice Chair.
Right,
He is
right.
Jen Moore, Eastern Vice Chair.
Correct.
So technically, Jen Moore, Eastern Vice Chair, is running for mayor of East Stroudsburg.
Is that how it goes, Joel? Is he still talking?
He says that it is his prized possession, and Bonnie says that he wore it the rest of the weekend. So all of his campaign stuff needs to be switched over from Joel Getz for mayor to Jen Moore, Eastern Vice Chair. Mayor.
I actually looked in our database, and we have 7 Jennifer Moores who are registered libertarians in Pennsylvania. So there's 6 more of me out there. I'm sorry, guys. That's just,
But that's like the Josh fight that just happened in Oklahoma or wherever. Like, you have battled your way up, and now you are the Jen Moore that's the chair of the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania. So you are the one true Jen Moore libertarian. And if anybody else wants to take that from you, there has to be a battle.
So my 9-year-old son, I was talking to him earlier this evening, and he Googled my name, and he's like, "Mommy, you're the first result." He's like, "You're wearing that blue dress," and it says Ballotpedia.
Yeah, if you Google Matt Wright, you used to, many years ago, get an emo singer from England. But now if you Google it, you still don't get me. You get the Australian Outback Wrangler or something. It's not me, and I've never watched a show because that's my name. And how dare he co-opt it? Okay, Nebraska, not Oklahoma. I apologize. So speaking of Joel, you guys have a lot of fantastic candidates, just truly wonderful candidates in Pennsylvania. Outside of Joel, who is one of my favorite guests I've ever had on the show. I can talk about that guy. I can talk about anything with that guy and worry about what we said later. But you have Joe Solosky running for governor. You've got Nicole Schultz running for lieutenant governor, and Tim McMaster, who is running for state senate, I believe.
Yep, his election was actually just on Tuesday.
Oh.
So we had 4 special elections on Tuesday, and you know what? Our candidates all did amazing. All of them were running in brand new counties where we had brand new affiliates. And those affiliates are light years ahead of the other ones that organized at the same stage because they had a candidate to, kind of rally around. I mean, it's amazing to see. I mean, we had 2 state Senate and 2 state House candidates. And I believe that they pulled pretty good numbers, like, 2 to 3%, which is really good for a libertarian.
Right.
But, just seeing the organization rise up around them, they did their job and they did it well.
Good. How did Tim's election end up? Like, I did not know that his election was on Tuesday. Otherwise, we would have reported on it on our show. But how did it go?
I think that he got about 3.5%.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, Tim, if I'm wrong. But it was a good showing, especially during the primary, when the people who show up are very partisan.
Right.
A lot of libertarians don't know that they can even vote. This year, everybody could vote because of the referendums, and we sent out postcards and we blasted that all over social media. I did interviews with a couple of other organizations trying to let libertarians know you can go to the polls this year. But for him to pull that kind of those kind of numbers at a time when normally libertarians, independents, it's a primary, so we wouldn't even think to show up at the polls. I mean, he did an excellent job. And it's going to be easier for the ones that come after him because now he's normalized it in his community. All these people, there's people that he, I'm sure, motivated to run for township supervisor or constable or, borough council that we haven't even met yet, but they're going to say, I saw Tim McMaster,
right,
and I decided to run for office, and they're going to win.
And that is one of the things that I've always supported about people running for local office, even though that has never really been my calling. I've never wanted to get up and debate with people and try to run a city. I'd just rather talk about it. But whenever people do, and somebody in the community sees a libertarian running, even if that libertarian doesn't have a good showing, or they like in Tim's case where he gets the 3.5%, which is a really good showing. 3.04% is what Michelle Marina Tiroli is saying. So when you get the 3% or you get higher, which is, that's a decent showing. That's a quality show. Somebody else is going to see that and say, I want to do that and I want to do better. And what can I take from this campaign? And what can I learn from this campaign? And how can I change that in the future? Just so when I do it, I can get, 4%, 5%, 15%, whatever. Or how can I win? And it really bolsters people when they see somebody taking this chance, who's putting it out there, that even though you're a minor party candidate, you're a third party candidate, you're a member of, even if it's Libertarian Party, Green Party, any of the others, Constitutional Party, Reform, you see it and you say, I want to do that. I want to make the change that Tim McMaster wanted to make. Even if I don't agree with his politics, I still want to I want to be that guy. And you will start seeing more people running when you have showings where it's like, okay, I can do that. I can reach that. I can beat that. I can make this. So
I'm telling you something. When I ran for Auditor General, I'm very much a data and analytics person. So
Okay.
I looked where we had down ballot candidates at what my percentages were like in their districts, and they were normally 1 to 2% higher. Anywhere we had a state rep running or even a congressional write-in, it's all connected. In them being there and getting those vote totals higher for the top of the ticket is what helped to give us minor party status, which has party status in Pennsylvania has a bunch of benefits. The reason why Tim and our other special election candidates were able to participate was because we're a minor party. They got on the ballot with no signatures. It was just a freebie to us. And if we wouldn't have reached that status, we wouldn't have had that. It also gives us control of our nominations, and it allows us to be on the voter registration forms and actually be listed rather than having to write it in, which is important too, because we use that
Very.
partisan registration to reach out to people to ask them to join the party, to send them correspondence. So it's a big deal. Every one of our candidates who gets 3%, they don't realize how much it's connected to the overall party success.
And it truly is. Here, I saw a lot of people run for federal office, and then I saw people run for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. I actually worked on the attorney general campaign for Bill Wolsifer, and that was a wonderful experience that really cemented me into the Libertarian Party. But people would watch those and say, that's awesome that, you've got your Adrian Wileys. This is back when this was all going on. Your Adrian Wiley running for governor and Bill Wolsifer running for attorney general. And I want to do that locally. I want to do that in my community. So they see what they're doing and then they try to replicate it in their communities. And you start to notice a groundswell of libertarians running locally. I am a person who does not believe that the Libertarian Party will win the presidency soon. I think that we need to truly start. I always make the joke we're a bottom-up organization, which is why we always get screwed. But we need to start out. We need to start out winning the local elections. You need to be on your city councils. You need to be on your county commissions and mayors and the local ones. And then when they start noticing that works, that's when you get into the state. And when you start making it work in the state, that's when you go for your governors or your federals or whatever, and you work your way up. It takes time, and it is not easy, and it is.
No, I mean, this is building the farm team,
Right,
I mean,
exactly. That's a great way to
but
put
the people who are serving now in these low-level positions, they're building the connections and the experience to win a bigger race.
Yeah.
In the high 80s, maybe 88 elected officials in Pennsylvania right now. This year, I think we'll add at least 100, which is conservative. I think that we'll do better than that. But, my goal is, for one of these people who maybe served as mayor or borough council to run for state rep somewhere in the middle of the state in 24 or 26, where we have a lackluster incumbent who's been there for 10 years and they're running unopposed, knock every door and frontier style put somebody in Harrisburg. I think that it's possible. We just need to build towards that.
We're-
We'll win a countywide, and then we'll win, a state level seat. We'll get there, but it's a long strategy.
It is. And your way of saying we're building the farm team is a much nicer way than what I was going to say. So I appreciate you keeping me grounded as opposed to how I normally would have phrased that.
You know what? We're at the right stage in our development. Everything's going right. We're raising a ton of money. We're electing a ton of people to office. And some people say that, well, they won an uncontested seat. They didn't have to work for it. And I will tell you, as somebody who's serving a 6-year term as auditor, that campaign from August to November is brutal, but serving a 4 to 6 year term in public office is a whole lot more work.
We, we had a guy he was supposed to be on our show on Tuesday, and I feel bad that it didn't work out, but we had so many technical issues that we couldn't link up with him, and his name was Brody Anderson. I don't know if you know who he is or not, but he won a 6-year term to the River Valley District Library Board of Trustees, which I was reading because I wanted to make sure I said it right for Brody's sake. And the Libertarian Party, National, included him in their, congrats to Brody Anderson for his win. And a lot of people, many of them libertarians, upset me because they were making fun of the fact that this was being publicized. And I said, no, these wins are even more important than if you're announcing that somebody won a congressional seat from Wyoming. These are the important ones because Brody Anderson has the chance to change the minds of the people in his city now, today. And they were like, oh, he probably ran unopposed. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He is now in office, and he is going to have the chance to make that difference. And I wished I could have gotten him. I wish that we didn't have the technical difficulties on Tuesday because I would have loved to hear his opinion. But some of the comments that people were saying were, one was funny. One said late fees are theft, and I thought that was hilarious. But the others were hateful toward Brody for absolutely no reason. And I see that a lot with libertarians where, for lack of a better phrase that I can think of right now, we shit on the success of people that we haven't gotten yet. And that's why I will always say, if you are running for a local office and you win the local office, good on you. I don't care if you ran unopposed. I don't care if it was in a race that I'm blanking on what that's called. The heat's getting to me. I'm getting the fever. Where you don't say what is that called? Where you don't say what your party.
Nonpartisan.
Yeah, thank you. A nonpartisan. I was like, why am I blanking on this? If it's a nonpartisan race, I don't care if you are a libertarian who is winning these races. You are doing more than anybody who is attempting to run for congressional office or Senate or president.
We're going to have a ton of inspector of elections and judge of elections this year. And we saw through this last election how important election integrity is. And who better to police that than a libertarian who is not, beholden to either of the other groups.
Right.
And these are 2-day-a-year commitments. You have to go to the polls on primary day and during the general election. So you can very easily serve your community and still have a full-time job and a family, but you can go from there all the way up to full-time jobs. I would recommend that the willingness to serve is enough.
Yes.
To run for a local office. You are qualified. Please go out there and do it. It is important because I'm telling you, when I came into my township, they looked at me and said, I thought that libertarians were mythological unicorns that just lived on the internet. And now they actually call me for advice. I had a conversation with our local Democrats recently about, the ballot referendums, and, they didn't like my answer, but we had a a respectful conversation about it at least.
Right.
And I think that when I do run for re-election, it sounds like they may support me. We'll see what happens when the time comes. But I have a good relationship with a lot of these people, and they know the libertarians aren't necessarily kooks, or at least not any kookier than me.
Yeah, what I've noticed, because obviously many people around me know that I'm a libertarian. They know that I do this show and that I talk libertarian politics and talk with libertarians who, are in leadership positions or doing libertarian things like writing books that have rings on the cover or whatever. But they'll talk to me, and some of the conversations definitely get heated, but for the most part, people just want to understand the position. People on the right, I find, want to understand the position up until you get to certain positions, and then it gets heated. And it's the opposite with people on the left. They want to get heated, except on a few where they just want to understand the position. And that could just be my own biases seeing it that way. But that's what I've kind of noticed from people. But for the most part, I can keep the conversations very friendly when I'm discussing politics with people outside of on the show or not at work because I'm not allowed. I was instructed that I can't do that ever again.
Yeah, I started out by just kind of listening and agreeing where I could agree. And eventually, and this was something that, Jeff Hewitt told me is, just listen, agree where you can agree. And eventually they'll start asking your opinion. And they did. And I mean, they've made me the chair of the board of auditors for the past 3 years. So apparently I'm doing something
I
right.
mean, you're obviously doing something the way that you're supposed to. So with the fantastic people, is there anybody else that you have running besides Joe Solosky, Nicole Schultz, Joel Getz, like that?
Oh, we have so many.
I was going to say,
I
yeah,
have,
you said that you have 88 in office right now and you're expecting to raise it by
yeah.
100?
Yep. We will start recruiting for uncontested seats probably in the next few weeks after the primary votes are tabulated. We have people all over the state. One of the things that's been a source of frustration to me as a state ballot access coordinator is that there's not really any reporting mechanisms because it is a bottom-up organization. Everything is done at the local level. So other than the county minutes, which only have to be turned in quarterly, I don't always know who's running.
Right.
I have a shout out for guys over and girls over in Susquehanna Valley. They put their county-wides on the ballot on primary day, collected enough signatures that they've got a bunch of candidates on the ballot. So, that is really awesome. Michelle and Paul are running up in Luzerne County. I know there's just a ton of them that are running all over the state, and I really need to start getting the list together. I've been so focused on the chair race. We do have a couple of Facebook groups that are specifically for nomination papers where people announce, and that's kind of how I have to put those lists together is by looking through county minutes, by looking through Facebook and kind of meticulously putting together our list. That's the problem with being decentralized is we don't always know unless someone is really campaigning hard that they're running. I know that they just nominated, they were getting signatures for a guy in Bucks County who's running for mayor. Here recently. I think that they nominated some people out in Allegheny, and I'm sorry that the names are all escaping me right now. I know that if they were in front of me, I would remember their name and what they're running for.
I was going to say you said that you have 88 in, and you're expecting to raise it by 100 to 150. You're expecting to raise it. If you were able to rattle off 200 names right off the top of your head, I would have been like, well, she's so organized. She should run my life.
I don't want to run anybody's life. No, I can't even run my own life most of the time. But yeah, it's I mean, the one thing that I can say this year is I have never ever seen this many local candidates announce. It's just unreal. And we're experiencing serious growing pains. There's a lot of things that we need to be doing better. So I'm so grateful to the people who are stepping up to help coordinate, especially some of our social media outreach and messaging, because that's something, I've been so focused on elections that I'm not strong in that. So the people that are coming forward and offering to help with those things, and we're reorganizing some of our subcommittees, and the people who are maybe on the opposite side of the table from me but are giving me a chance as chair to work on these things together. It's been overwhelming this past week how many people have reached out to me and how many people want to help and how many people want to run for office and help local candidates. It's just an amazing thing to see our movement growing.
It is. And, I got involved in the Libertarian Party in 2014, I think. 2014 is when I got involved. I became a libertarian in '08, I think. I think it was '08 because I hated Obama and McCain, and I was like, this is not neither of these parties are mine. So then I got involved in 2014, and the growth that I have seen nationwide has been, it gives me hope for everything that's going on, because I see a lot of people who love liberty and a lot of people who want to see the change that we all dream about. And yeah, we're getting a lot of backlash. It gets hard, especially ballot access laws. Did you see the Tennessee House, or I think they have a house there or something, where they were shooting down the lowering of ballot access for third parties in Tennessee?
I saw that.
Right, and
I saw that.
you see stuff like that, and it gets you down. But then you see the groundswell of people who come up to help and be like, okay, well, if they're not going to lower it, we are going to get those numbers. And that is the stuff that I love to see, because you see this community growing, and it's people who, for the most part, work together to ensure that liberty gets spread across the entire nation. It is like, it's so hot. I'm like sticking to my chair. It is
I also sit on the National Ballot Access Committee. I was recruited after the Jorgensen campaign and then reappointed this year. And it's amazing to hear the other states' ballot access laws. And like sometimes they just sound like insurmountable barriers.
Right.
But we do it. I mean, in every 4 years, we get 50 state. Yeah, I'm sitting outside and I've got lights on me, so I'm starting to get really washed out as the sun goes down.
I'm like, you're getting like that golden hour.
Right.
That golden hour that everybody's been like putting on Twitter and Instagram recently with hashtag golden hour. It's like, it's working. But so what is it that Pennsylvania is going to be doing for the candidates specifically to help them get elected? Like, what sort of support are they going to be looking at?
Well, this year, the main thing that we'll do is we'll look for uncontested seats,
Okay.
and then we will send out letters to registered libertarians in the district and ask them to run. From there, we will walk them through, the basics of ballot access, and then follow up and see how they're doing. And then after that piece is done, anyone who didn't get on the ballot will follow up again and see if they want to run write-in. If somebody goes to the polls for an hour and they hand out cards for this person, there's no one on the ballot, they'll probably get written in. We'll probably win half of them that way. As far as the local candidates who are running contested races, the hope is that we will have, lots of resources, lots of advice on how to, fight a ballot challenge, campaign. One of the reasons why I got involved in the state party was because when I was challenged in 2017 and brought to court over my signatures, nobody was really around. I didn't even know who to ask for help. My county was wonderful. We hired a lawyer. 3 of us were challenged. We got through it together, but I felt like there wasn't really any support at the higher level. Now, if you get a ballot challenge, we have a team of people who can look at it and say, I don't think that this is winnable. You shouldn't spend money on an attorney, or you should absolutely get legal advice on this. This is a list of attorneys that you can call. We have wonderful campaign managers. We have people who've been candidates themselves who, even if they're not managing your campaign, they're there to advise. We have lawyers and previous candidates who can help you with the campaign finance questions. We just didn't have all of this a couple of years ago.
Right.
So, the state doesn't really have a big role in local campaigns as far as financing them and things. We've just recently learned that we can do bulk mail. Through our not-for-profit status. So if a candidate wanted to send a mailing, the state party can do it for them, and they can pay us, and it'll be about half price.
Oh, nice.
So, we're doing our best to offer resources, and, as we grow, we'll get better at this. A few years ago in 2017 when I ran, we didn't have any of these resources, and every year we're getting better. So there's still a long ways to go, though.
No, absolutely. Like I have said for years now, the best campaigning you can still do is going door to door knocking.
Yeah.
Being in the constituents' faces, like not like being in their faces, but being there, looking them in the eye to talk to them about the candidates is the best thing that you can do. because that gets you in the mind of the candidates. They're like, oh, this guy came out. There were many times that I knocked on a door, and whether I was there knocking for a Libertarian or a Republican that I agreed with enough, if I was knocking on the door, there were many times that the person that answered the door said, you came out here to talk to me, I'm going to vote for your guy, because I don't really know anything about either, but you were kind enough to come here to talk to me. And I don't know if they did, but I do know that if all of those people did, it was enough to make the difference.
I'm telling you, for these local campaigns, I would recommend that they get their signatures for ballot access that way. That's the beginning of their campaign. That's how I. And the reason I was challenged, the Board of Elections told me that I needed 10 signatures. So I went out and got like 18 or 19. Safe, right?
Right.
Well, they gave me the number for the major parties. I needed 46. So the judge gave me another 20 days to go get the rest. The Board of Elections actually came and testified and said, no, we gave her the wrong number. This wasn't her fault. So I went and got about 100. And I knocked on every door in my neighborhood, and I explained to them that the incumbent supervisor who wanted to appoint his own auditor who sets his pay was the one who challenged me. And they were like, really? Wow. So, I mean, I don't know how much of an effect that had, but no Republican won re-election in my community
Right.
after I talked about what the Republican committee had done that year. And I got to meet everybody just through knocking on a couple hundred doors and getting 100 signatures. And I also knew that there was a registered voter in that house because I had a walking list. So I was kind of vetting my signatures as I went. You know, if you only need 10 to 50 signatures, that's the best way to start.
Absolutely, yeah. Just walking around your neighborhood, your neighbors already know you. You're already a member of that community. Whether or not they know you personally, they have seen you, and they're like,
Right.
oh, okay, well, you know, he's running. Let's support somebody in this community. And it is it is the best way to campaign. And I don't know why I never thought about the candidate going out for that, like initially to start it. Never even dawned on me. So
It's actually a lot of fun. You can be like, hi, I'm your neighbor. I'm up the hill and I want to run for auditor. And would you sign to get me on the ballot? And now when I'm out walking the dog, all these years later, they know me by name.
right.
And, you know, they ask me how things are going and they complain about their flood insurance. And I'm like, now I'm the auditor. Like, I can put a word in with the supervisor. They won't listen to me, but like, you know, yeah, I realize we haven't had a flood in 350 years, but you know, I mean, you should come to a meeting with me and we can talk about that,
Right.
you know?
And you know, I'm in Florida, so flood insurance is it's a sore subject for me. You know, that federally run thing that you don't have a choice and you have to buy and they get to make the rates.
Yeah.
That wonderful thing. Yeah. I hate flood insurance. Like, I get the point of it, but
I know.
let it be privatized, please. Just let it be privatized.
A little better.
It is. No,
Yeah.
it gives you the 1950s movie star vibe now with the lighting.
I still have one on me, but I turned the closer one
Right.
off. So
Now, in the comments, I saw something a little concerning from Joel Getz, and he said, I got to scroll up to it because it was a while ago, and I knew I wanted to not bring it up just right there in the middle. What's your position on turkey bacon?
bacon comes from pigs.
Okay. See,
I mean, turkey bacon. I'm sorry, Bonnie. Bonnie is our secretary. I love Bonnie. She really is into turkey bacon. And I just, like, what part of the turkey do you cut the bacon from? It's mechanically separated turkey. I mean, I just can't.
like,
Call it something other than bacon. It's not bacon.
I will accept beef bacon. I will accept it because I think, I'm not a butcher, but I believe it is the same cut. But with a turkey,
I've
I'm
never
like,
had beef bacon.
oh, it's good.
I'll have to
It's
try
really
it.
good.
I'm like a militant carnivore, so that also factors in.
You're a what carnivore?
A militant carnivore.
Oh,
like, you know,
militant.
I get like all, yeah.
I get it. Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, if I can take out 3 or 4 different kinds of animals in one meal, I'm happy. I am definitely happy. So you've already normally at this point I say, hey, is there anything you would like to pitch? Is there any place that they can go to donate? But you've already won your race. So what pitch whatever the audience is yours. You get to
Well, the most important thing for right now, it costs about $100 to successfully recruit a winning candidate. So if you would go to lppa.org /donate, and throw something towards our ballot access drive, I would be very appreciative. It's a big deal. We need to fund this stuff. We have a lot of wonderful donors. We brought a bunch of money in through our convention, but the more donations we get, the more candidates we're going to be able to elect. And we only have this opportunity every couple of years. I just would like to be able to do more than 100. And I think that we have the boots on the ground to do it. So, and the other piece of that is, if we get the Molten maneuver executed, hopefully we can help some of these other contested candidates financially too. So, please donate to our state party. And always donate to your local candidates. Donate to them first and your state party second, because we'll put that money to good use. We're not like the Democrats and Republicans. Our donors expect results and we provide them.
right. So that is lppa.org/donate, everybody. And just from the number of Pennsylvania candidates that we've had on our show, which we've had a good amount, and now we've had the chair on one of our shows as well. I see a lot of good things going on in Pennsylvania. Huge fan of what I'm seeing coming out of there. So now that you are chair, now that you sit on the Iron Throne of the LPPA, you can continue doing all of the great stuff. And I am really looking forward to see what happens in Pennsylvania. And I know that you guys are going to continue rocking it because everybody up there is just a fantastic person. And they all have great ideas, and they all are hard workers who truly believe in liberty. And I respect that, and I love it. And I cannot wait to see more of it coming out of Pennsylvania. Thank you for all you are doing up there.
Thank you. I just, all the people who are new and who are unable to vote in our convention, I see you, I hear you. Please come and integrate with the party. We need your ideas. We need you. I'm so sorry for the way that things went down. It was unexpected to a lot of us. But, thank you to everybody who's giving me a chance as the new chair. Chair is a brutal job in any circumstance. It's the most thankless job in the party. You take the heat for a lot of stuff. You don't have a vote. As vice chair, I was able to be very task oriented. I was able to focus on counties and elections, and now I have to wear a lot more hats coordinating things. So I'm already feeling the pressure, but I think we'll be fine. I'm just grateful for all the people who are working with us and making it happen, because this really is a team effort.
Excellent. Well, yeah, again, everybody, that is lppa.org. Jen, if you want to hang out for a couple of minutes, I am going to do my outro, and I'll talk to you afterwards.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Beautiful. All right. To everybody else, that's still Joe Solosky. I always forget to turn him off. To everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are a Clubhouse user tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern, you can join a room that has Spike Cohen, Jess Mears, and I believe a bunch of other libertarians are going to be there. So tune in for that. Spike is going to be in Colorado. I think we're going to say Colorado, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And then next week, on a brand new week of Muddied Waters Media, on Tuesday at roughly 8 o'clock, really depending on technical difficulties, we have Mike. That's apparently how his name is. Mike Termat, who is running for House District 20 in Florida, which means I should probably know him. But I will definitely look forward to meeting him at the convention in a couple of weeks. But Mike Termat is going to be running, and he will be on the show on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. On Spike's My Fellow Americans, he has a show on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. You're going to have to tune in to find out if there is a guest and who that guest is, because it's going to blow your mind. And then next week on the Writer's Block, Thursday, 8 o'clock, I have Irene, I really need to start looking at these things before now. Irene Mavrakakis. I have Irene on next Thursday, and I'm definitely looking forward to learning how to say her last name. To everybody out there, thank you for watching. Please like, please share, please comment. No matter which social media platform you are on, share it. And if you are not watching this live, comment to keep us up in the algorithms. If you are one of the old school listeners who really enjoys just listening to the sweet, sultry, dulcet tones of my voice and my guest's voice, head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters, where you can favorite our podcast. And while you're there, you can also leave us messages that we will play on Tuesday nights during the personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds Attorney at Law Anchor Call-In Moment. And we will answer all of your questions live on the air. You can also donate money to us if you are so inclined. And I'm not going to say that we will like you more if you do that, but we will probably like you more. And then you can find this in every other episode at muddiedwatersmedia.com. To everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to another week of Muddied Waters Media with all of you. Until next week, I am Matt Wright, and you are perfect just the way you are.
I am swinging from a 7-story window, throwing parties in a 10-by-7 cell. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help. Yeah, I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'll try to use your body as a life raft, 'cause if there's room enough for one, there must be room enough for two. I'll sail the good ship you into the sunset, sipping on savory water till my liver turns blue. Sha-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Is broadcast in the evening news. I will be relieved. La, I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'm waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. Singing, hey, hey, alright, yeah, I wrote that one myself. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help.